Yo, it's 3023, and we're living in the future. AI's on the rise, no more human suture. Machines taking over, but not like you think. They're serving up luxury in the blink of a twink. From the streets of Detroit to the depths of the cosmos, they're preaching a vision. It's grandiose, it's colossal. In the vastness of space beyond the Milky Way's bars, communism thrives among the stars. Fully automated, no labor, no strife. The machines do the work, giving us the good life. Equality for all in this utopian dream where love is love and everything's as it seems. Fully automated luxury gay space communism. A vision so wild, breaks through every schism. With AI by our side, it's a brand new rhythm. Equality, love in this stellar system. Stepping on Mars with my rainbow flag high, machines by my side as we touch the sky. No more billionaires, no more class divide. In this brave new world, we all ride the high tide. Forget the old world with its hate and its lies. Here in space, we've cut all the ties. Love who you love, be who you are. In this cosmic dance, you're a superstar. No more hunger, no more pain. AI's got our back through sunshine and rain. A world of abundance for all to share. With machines at the helm, there's love in the air. So here's to the future and the dreams we're chasing in this world of love, in this cosmic spacing. With AI by our side, there's no more schism. Welcome to the era of space communism. Fully automated luxury gay space communism. A vision so wild, breaks through every schism. With AI by our side, it's a brand new rhythm. Equality, love in this stellar system. Yo, it's 3023, and we're living in the future. AI's on the rise, no more human suture. Machines taking over, but not like you think. They're serving up luxury in the blink of a twink. From the streets of Detroit to the depths of the cosmos, they're preaching a vision. It's grandiose, it's colossal. In the vastness of space beyond the Milky Way's bars, communism thrives among the stars. Fully automated, no labor, no strife. The machines do the work, giving us the good life. Equality for all in this utopian dream where love is love and everything's as it seems. Fully automated luxury gay space communism. A vision so wild, breaks through every schism. With AI by our side, it's a brand new rhythm. Equality, love in this stellar system. Stepping on Mars with my rainbow flag high, machines by my side as we touch the sky. No more billionaires, no more class divide. In this brave new world, we all ride the high tide. Forget the old world with its hate and its lies. Here in space, we've cut all the ties. Love who you love, be who you are. In this cosmic dance, you're a superstar. No more hunger, no more pain. AI's got our back through sunshine and rain. A world of abundance for all to share. With machines at the helm, there's love in the air. So here's to the future and the dreams we're chasing in this world of love, in this cosmic spacing. With AI by our side, there's no more schism. Welcome to the era of space communism. Fully automated luxury gay space communism. A vision so wild, breaks through every schism. With AI by our side, it's a brand new rhythm. Equality, love in this stellar system. Yo, it's 3023, and we're living in the future. AI's on the rise, no more human suture. Machines taking over, but not like you think. They're serving up luxury in the blink of a What is up? Yo, 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 yo. Your boy's a mess. Your boy is a I got so much going on. What up, Ribbons? What up, Donnie? Oh, I got a gift from the wife. And we're going away, and I'm kind of hoping to get, like I'm sure I can use it as a soundboard for like Twitch and shit, but like it's designed for like making music, right? Like EDM and stuff. And I'm hoping to be able to, yeah, something like that. And I'm hoping to get into that. What up, Allie? This weekend, like, you know, because it's kind of some downtime and some other shit. And and so what I don't want to do is disconnect this computer, my streaming joint. So I busted out this old laptop you can kind of see behind me, and I'm hoping that that I'll be able to connect through that, because that would be mint. And I'll take the mixer board and the beat pad and some other shit and get creative. And my Chatterino. And here's Ferris. Say hi to the people, Ferris. So yeah, we got some news, we got some video. Let me see here real quick. I think we might open. All that shit is commentary. Jesus criminy. Did that one. Na na na. Na na na. Na na na. Na na na. All right, screw it. We'll just, as the man says, fuck it, we'll do it live. Here you go. No, this one. All right, just a couple news stories, 5 news stories to get to. So we'll do that, and I'll fire up a video. Twitch is being janky today. Okay. I keep joking that it's the emergent AI stretching its legs and occupying the internet. All right. All right, background music. Ding, ding. Play the drums. Okay. Mm-hmm. News first and then videos. Dun, 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 dun. Yo.
Like any other shiny new toy, AI is ultimately a mirror, and it will reflect back.
Yo, thank you, Adam. I appreciate you, homie. Okay. So what was this? This was okay. Jan LeCun works with Meta. Works at Meta. This is an archive, so it's a preprint. It still hasn't been peer reviewed, probably. But according to the paper and Jan LeCun, very interesting paper. Using generative AI to produce text or images, emits 3 to 4 orders of magnitude less carbon dioxide than doing it manually or with the help of a computer. So, I imagine that people are not going to be happy about that. So this graph is the carbon footprint. Midjourney creating one image looks like it's at about a 3. DALL-E 2 creating one image comes in about a 4. Laptop comes in about 100. Desktop comes in about, I don't know, what would that even be? Because you went from 1 to 10 to 10 to 100 and like maybe 2, 300? Maybe 4. And then this has got to be 9. Human from India creating one image. Human from US creating one image. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 9,000. This figure compares the CO2 emissions of AI and humans engaged in the task of creating one image. AI image creation produces 310 to 2,900 times less CO2 per image than human creators. AI produces many times less CO2 than computer usage to support humans making images. Excuse me. And then this is a comparison of writing, one page, Bloom, ChatGPT, and then gradually increasing laptop, desktop, and then humans. So I'm not hanging my hat on this, right? Like, we'd have to see what their criteria was and everything else, but this is significant, I would say. Big if true. And speaking of CO2, MIT's game-changing hack, energy-efficient CO2 capture and conversion. One of the issues with carbon capture from the atmosphere is that it tends to require, a significant amount of electricity in order to pull that down, and it can require as much as it took to put it up there in the first place. So like what you end up with is somewhere around a net zero. Researchers uncovered how carbon dioxide can be both captured and converted through a single electrochemical process in which an electrode, like the one pictured covered in bubbles, is used to attract carbon dioxide released from a sorbent and convert it into carbon neutral products. The findings could help cut emissions from the hardest to decarbonize industries such as steel and cement. Industries such as steel, cement, and chemical manufacturing, particularly hard to decarbonize because of the inherent use of carbon and fossil fuels in their processes. If technologies can be developed to capture carbon emissions and repurpose them within the production process, so this isn't capturing it out of the atmosphere, this is capturing it within the process. It may lead to a significant reduction in emissions from these hard-to-abate sectors. However, the current experimental technologies that capture and convert carbon dioxide do so as two separate processes that themselves require a huge amount of energy to run. The MIT team is looking to combine the two processes into one integrated and far more energy efficient system that could potentially run on renewable energy to both capture and convert carbon dioxide from concentrated industrial sources. What up, Arvelin? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Doo-doo study reveal the hidden functioning. Use electrode. Mechanisms driving the electrochemical reaction have remained unclear. The MIT team carried out extensive experiments to determine that driver and found that in the end it came down to the partial pressure of carbon dioxide. In other words, the more pure carbon dioxide that makes contact with the electrode, the more efficiently the electrode can capture and convert the molecule. Well, that would make sense. This study's results imply that while the electrochemical systems would probably not work for very dilute environments, for instance, to capture and convert carbon emissions directly from the air, they would be well suited to the highly concentrated emissions generated by industrial processes, particularly those that have no obvious renewable alternative. So that could be also big if true. From Forbes, the 10 most important AI trends for 2024. Everyone must be ready for now. The speed at which artificial intelligence evolves and integrates our lives is going to increase in 2024 as companies learn to unlock its potential. Individuals use it to boost productivity, and legislators scratch their heads over regulating it. Scratch their heads. See, when you put the hyphen in there, you're over-regulating it, as opposed to scratching their heads over regulating it. No, the implication. AI will become increasingly omnipresent in everything we do. What do you got here? Ethical AI has the potential to be so like I only work here, right? Like to be so disruptive that it's essential that it is developed and used in a responsible way that minimizes its potential to cause harm. We already know some of the dangerous factors. Bias, yes. Lack of transparency, yes. The potential to displace human jobs and our ability to say with 100% certainty that it's never going to get out of control. Okay, the potential to displace human jobs is a feature, not a bug. Forbes. And, like, I could say with 100% certainty, we got a lot of stuff that kind of gets out of control, and we're just kind of good with that, Forbes. Just saying, Forbes. AI and customer service, augmented working, AI augmented apps, low code. Okay, so there's nothing new here. This is just them putting it together. Okay, thank you for wasting our time. Telling AI, this bug is already, yeah, exactly. Telling AI model to take a deep breath causes math scores to soar in study. DeepMind used AI models to optimize their own prompts with surprising results. We know this because AI Explained told us this, and his Old Lobster let you know in the Discord we're going to be watching an AI Explained a little bit later. Google DeepMind researchers recently developed a technique to improve math ability by using other AI models to improve prompting, the written instructions that tell the AI model what to do. Found that using human-style encouragement improved math skills. See, remember when Old Lobster said you say please and thank you to the AI, you get better results? It's baked in, baby. It is baked in. Just like don't dog on the AI.
treat it like the child that it is. Give it encouragement and be polite. And come on now. Instead of formally defining the optimization problem and deriving the updated step with a programmed solver, we describe the optimization problem in natural language, then instruct the LLM to iteratively generate new solutions based on the problem description and the previously found solutions. Rather than relying on formal mathematical definitions to perform this task, Opro uses meta prompts described in natural language to set the stage for the optimization process. The LLM then generates candidate solutions based on the problem's description and previous solution, and it tests them by assigning each a quality score. In Opro, two large language models play different roles. The scorer LLM evaluates the objective function, such as accuracy, while an optimizer LLM generates new solutions based on past results and a natural language description. Different pairings of score and optimizer LLMs are evaluated, including models like PaLM2 and GPT variants. Opro can optimize prompts for the scorer LLM by having the optimizer iteratively generate higher scoring prompts. These scores help the system identify the best solutions, which are then added back into the meta prompt for the next round of optimization. And then this is the let's think step by step that AI explained the other day. And then we got into the whole semantic nature of the conversation. So that's cool. We are learning. They are learning. Drum roll, please. Where my 90s kids at? Where my LimeWire kids at? Because LimeWire is back, baby. LimeWire is back, and Chatterino is in my way. After relaunching as a studio for creators, LimeWire acquires Blue Willow, a Midjourney competitor. In the Wild West of generative AI, a new, unlikely cowboy is riding into town. LimeWire, once infamous for music piracy and incurring the wrath of the music industry before shutting down, last year pivoted under new owners into the world of content creation. Now, to build that out further, today it's announcing the acquisition of Blue Willow, a popular generative AI image creation platform that competes with services like Midjourney and Stable Diffusion. If it's popular, this is the first time I've heard of it. So, I'm not saying it's not popular. I'm saying if it is popular, then that just goes to show you how much is happening. Yeah, I've never heard of it before, but it could be. It's got, according to this article, it's got 2.5 million members and 500 million plus images created. So, let's see what happens when we click this. Yeah. Blue Willow. New contender coming out the box. Got a Discord and everything. And it looks like Blue Willow's presence on Discord, so I'm going to interpret that to be in the same way that Midjourney and others function off Discord. You have to go to their Discord in order to use it, rather than something like Leonardo, which has its own website. I'm sure there's a reason. I don't know what the reason is, but I'm sure there is one. Wow. Financial terms of the deal are not being disclosed, but the acquisition will not include any of the talent working at Blue Willow. Ritankar Das, the founder and head of the company, said in an interview that the team that built Blue Willow are advising LimeWire on the platform in a transitory period, but that they plan to eventually leave en masse to work on a new AI venture that's still in stealth. That's fascinating. You can have it, but we're out. We're going to take our money. We're going to go do a new thing. Let's find out. Let's find out what's going on with LimeWire. And bam, just like that, my computer's got digital herpes. LimeWire AI Studio is a place to create, publish, and monetize content using the power of AI. Use the LimeWire AI Studio to create amazing generative images, music, and audio. Publish your creations on LimeWire and receive up to 90% of all ad revenue. And you can buy stock right here on the homepage. I don't know. Like again, like I'm aware of LimeWire, obviously, but this is all new to me. LimeWire has been relaunched to once again reinvent how fans and artists share content and interact with each other. Platform for content creators. We aim to help artists build a recurring revenue stream, provide a platform and framework for direct fan membership. In turn, fans receive exclusive content. So you click on it where it says buy LMWR. Utility token that sits deep in the heart. So this is like getting paid in crypto. Okay, yeah. Like, through blockchain technology, we make exclusive content and assets ownable and tradable. So, like, you could stream on the blockchain, is what I'm getting. Serial tech founders. And I'm getting it like strong euro, like, I feel like all these people are Europeans. Like, not that there's anything wrong with that. Some of my favorite people are Europeans, but like, yeah, I don't know. I do not know. Yeah, look at the flags. Not a single Old Glory, stars and stripes among them. Oh, there's one. Caroline, representing. Okay. So that's neat. Like, whoop, let me that go away. There was the article. Okay. So yeah, we'll be keeping an eye on that and see what happens. Maybe LimeWire is the next big thing, and everyone will head on over to LimeWire in the near future. All right, let me. All right, that was easy. That was like a half an hour, and we're already X. So let's fire up the old. Now let's do this first. So, kill the music. No, not that. Not that. Go ahead and get ready. Fire yourself up.
Just when I was.
So I can shut you down. So we're gonna. I want to look at a brief intro to this week's Ghosty Boy Connects. What up, Ghosty Boy Connects? I just wanted to pop in and say you're amazing and you're doing great. Always know your self-worth. I send lots of love to you too, chat. Well, thank you. That is a very nice, positive message, and I appreciate that. Thank you. I hope everything goes well for you as well. All right. So this week, some more news. We're not going to watch the whole thing. We're just going to watch the beginning part of it because the beginning part of it is relevant to what I'm going to get into after the beginning part of it. So, and of course, you know where to find Cody Shody, or you can look in the Discord. It'll be up after stream. So here we go.
Everyone shush up. Shh. We're doing the news now. Yes, you in the back, shush as well. Thank you. Okay, breaking news. Here's some more of it. It's planned obsolescence is a thing. That's the news. Look, I'm sorry I was so short with you earlier, but have you noticed that more of your clothes are getting worn out and getting holes in them more quickly? Or do you ever run out of ink in your printer and see the price of a fresh ink cartridge is around the same cost of a new printer? Do you ever wonder why your refrigerator died after 10 years of freezing Halo Top ice cream, but your hot grandma's 1930s ass fridge still keeps Doc Fudgem's Cocoa Whippledick iced milk cold? That's planned obsolescence. And I know that sounds very low stakes, but please rest assured that the episode won't just be me griping about how they don't make stuff like they used to. That said, they don't make stuff like they used to. And there's a larger implication to that, and a reason, and that is planned obsolescence. It's PO, baby! Pure PO, which is like BO in that it stinks for everybody except the person responsible for it. Also, like farts.
And respect to Cody because his metaphors actually hit, right? You know, your boy and his feelings on metaphors, but Cody's metaphors are good.
The problem of planned obsolescence. Heck yes, the title means that we're doing an episode now about a thing that we're all aware of, perhaps consider annoying, but don't really think about enough. Or maybe you do think about it. I don't know what's in your heart. Not until my saw gets here in the mail. So planned obsolescence is a business strategy that deliberately ensures that a product will break, become useless or obsolete within a specific time period so it can guarantee that consumers will need replacements. This keeps demand steady so people will become repeat customers. If you've ever bought a smartphone, this probably sounds terribly familiar to you. More on that later. But that's the short definition. For the longer definition, keep watching, I guess. I mean, look at the time bar at the bottom of the video. We've got a few notes. So while the business aspect of creating demand has been around since the invention of commerce, the earliest modern aspect of planned obsolescence can be traced back to 1925. It also happens to be the most
And this is the relevant bit.
insidious conspiracy brain version ever, because prior to that year, incandescent light bulbs had a lifespan of up to 2,500 hours, or like 104 days of continuous use. And that's the average. There's currently a light bulb that's still working after being turned on in 1901. The invention was incredibly efficient. So efficient, in fact, that the light bulb companies weren't making enough money. After all, with that system, customers just needed a new light bulb around 4 times per year. And that's assuming they had it on all the time. Perhaps to ward off ghost owls, which I'm told is a big problem in New England and some parts of Canada. Anyway, light bulbs. Too good. Need money. So an international cartel of industry leaders was formed to, big quotes, fix that great product into a less great and more lucrative one. The Phoebus cartel was made up of incandescent light bulb companies throughout the world, including subsidiaries of General Electric, that plotted together to shorten the lifespan of the light bulb. And they succeeded. Hooray! Success! They all agreed to unimprove their products to the point that any light bulb they sold, regardless of company or country of origin, lasted only 1,000 hours. The cartel would even regularly send samples to a neutral lab to ensure that their products didn't exceed the agreed and artificial limit, and would pay fines if they dared to make a better bulb. Those restrictions were okay by them, of course, since sales from the cartel increased from 335 million to 420 million units between 1926 and 1930. Of course, the cartel would loosen its grip when the members' host countries got into a bit of a spat around 1939 to 1945. Look it up. It's an event. Ask Ken Burns about it. He'll point in the right direction. But the point, which I really can't stress enough, and I'm struggling to get to, is that incandescent light bulbs were purposefully manufactured to be less good so that people would have to spend more money on them. And for at least 75 years, we just accepted that until LED bulbs became popularized. We were just grifted by an entire industry for decades. Dare I say, gasp. Hey everyone, it's Cody from the future! Just wanted to pop in here to note that the light bulb cartel story, while widely reported, has also been disputed, and a 1951 report from the Monopolies and Restrictive Practices Commission claimed that the 1,000 hour limit was to balance lifespan versus wattage, at least according to representatives of these companies, who still issued fines for going over this limit, so why do that? If it's just for being more efficient, why issue the fines? Also, in that same report, they refer to the guidelines as seemingly arbitrary, and they state, when asked whether it would not be possible to market a type of lamp with a longer life in order to test whether the public in fact like it, their reply was to the effect that this was a matter on which the public could not judge and which ought to be left entirely to the manufacturer. So anyway, according to the bulb companies, they're totally innocent. Debunked! Point is, it just still seems a little sus, which is a phrase that came back in style in the future. Also, tomorrow's lotto numbers are 69.
Okay, so that's the point. The episode is good. It's on planned obsolescence. Most of you probably already know about planned obsolescence. So we don't really need to go over that portion of it. I do recommend watching it, of course, supporting Cody Johnston. Like, Cody Johnston, in my opinion, is some peak edutainment, right? Like, along similar lines of what I try to do, keep it entertaining, but at the same time educate people. And I think that is important and that's valuable and like that. So make sure you go support Cody. That's not good. The computer screen went haywire. Are you stuck? Ferris has really sharp claws and tends to get herself stuck. So yeah, maybe the laptop no good, and then plan 2. We improvise, we adapt, we overcome. Yes, Cody. So the point is that beginning bit about how back in 1925, a group of people in a particular industry in capitalism got together to, set the terms. Why is that relevant? Because
I fell into the Moloch trap, right?
So we played that short video from this podcast. And again, I listened to this. I think that there is a lot of good information. Like, one of the things that he talks about in here is the idea of a finite game versus an infinite game, right? A finite game is like most of the games that you can think of: chess, checkers, baseball, football. It has beginning, middle, and end. It's competition between one or two or more players, or even one player, because there are solitaire games and like that. But it has a beginning, middle, and end, where there's a lot of like life, and in his position, business is an infinite game where it's not to win because there's nothing to win, but rather to continue to play. And that actually flavors a lot of my philosophy around board games. When I sit down with my friends on Sunday and we play a board game, I'm trying to win, right? Well, chess is finite in that it has an ending, right? At some point in time, the game will end. That's what it means about finite. Infinite means that the game goes on forever, like life, like business, so on and so forth. But my philosophy is like, I play a finite game within an infinite game framework, right? Like, because I'm hanging out with my friends, I care less about winning, right? Because yes, I win the game, but almost immediately, who cares, right? Like, the idea is to have fun, to stay in the game, to continue playing games in the future. Let's see this intro.
I fell into
quick.
the Moloch trap, right? Being obsessed with beating my arch rival, dun, 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 when there was no real game at play. There was no game. The game was a complete artificial narrative in my head. That, I think, is a part of the Moloch trap.
So there's like this idea of false zero-sumness.
False zero-sumness, right.
Seeing a fixed pie when there isn't one.
And remember, there's no fixed rules, there's no agreed upon objectives, and there's no agreed upon timeframes. Mm-hmm. So I'm literally inventing a game that doesn't exist. And my sense of winning or losing depends on where I'm looking.
Hi, everyone.
So, like, no, the bid does. Like, I do highly recommend watching this entire podcast. Again, you're taking the information, you watch it with a critical eye, and then you take the bits that work with your framework and you leave the rest. So, like, but in that context, there's a lot of good philosophy in there. Just the issue comes up with how these people approach capitalism. And then today I started listening to this one, my man Joseph Gordon-Levitt, talking with Liv, and
whereas,
did you ever have an arch rival?
An arch rival?
Yeah, like someone who you felt like...
Yeah, we've talked about this, actually. I've told him this. When I was a kid, so Elijah Wood, I don't know if you know that actor.
Yeah.
Elijah Wood, who's a great actor. He and I went on so many of the same auditions, and he would always fucking get the part. I was like, God damn it, that kid's here.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Win-Win Podcast. Today, I am speaking to Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Now, Joe... Well, he doesn't need much of an introduction, really. He's an incredible...
And this is another good one, at least the half that I watched so far was good. In the beginning here, he's talking about AI paying residuals, and I think that that's valid. But I wanted to get to this point because, again, like in the previous video, my man is a capitalist. He cannot view a world other than, market forces, right? And it's just figuring out, like, how to capitalism right. Like, they want to reform capitalism. And in the previous video, like, he knows there's something wrong with the current state, right? Like, that is not in question. It's just that the replacement has to be a different kind of capitalism, right? But as we just saw in the Cody Johnson video, it's been like that since at least 1925, right? The game is what it is.
Shit out of luck.
It actually sounds like this would be the path to a necessary form of UBI.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. And to parrot Jaron again, he expresses a lot of concern about UBI because historically, anytime you put all of the economic power in one kind of centralized government dole, you run into big, big problems, right? That's communism. So that's why he really emphasizes the need for a market dynamic. And it's not out of being any kind of like rabid capitalist or anything, but just out of understanding that taken to the extreme, central planning doesn't work. And so how can we have a balance where there's a strong safety net, but still a market dynamic so that there are those incentives for people to take initiative and be creative?
That little sprinkle of competition.
Yeah.
And like in the previous video, the snippet that we played on Monday was that efficiency, which is a hallmark of capitalism, removes creativity. It stifles innovation because innovation requires loss. Innovation is planned loss, right? You are going to fail when you try to innovate because you have to try stuff that doesn't work, right? How much money did Microsoft invest in the Zune? Anybody remember the Zune? Right? It was an MP3 player to compete with the iPod. Right? And when they came out with like their second or third edition of the Zune, it was an impressive piece of technology for what it was. And just 2-3 years after that was when the iPhone came out and destroyed both the Zune and the iPod as a necessary piece of technology, right? Like you got a phone. Seriously, it was like, I'm not surprised, right? Like it was impressive, but again, it was impressive at the wrong time. Because the iPod or the iPhone came out, and now my cell phone and my MP3 player are one device, and that one device is more convenient than two devices, just by its very nature. Now, there's still, in my opinion, like, if you work out, if you run, if you go to the gym, if you're into that kind of lifestyle, an MP3 player or an iPod, because of its small size, is probably still better, right? They like, I mean, there is Bluetooth, but your phone is always like around, you know what I mean? What's up, Pizzicata? iPod Shuffle. Yeah, like I got a couple of iPod Nanos laying around that I haven't used in a million years, right? But like the size of them, they're like the size of a quarter, right? Like a squared out quarter, but a quarter. Like they have a good size, and if you Bluetooth that to the headphones, now there's nothing in the way. I don't have to worry about what happened to my phone. Did I accidentally step on it? Did somebody grab it while I'm lifting heavy bar? If you're running, what are you doing with your phone? Your phone, even though your phone might be light, it's still kind of heavy, right? Like there's advantages I think that we lost there, but it is what it is because, you know, that ain't coming back. Here.
That's
Right. That's your
that's
big
my thing. Yeah,
yeah, right?
We
It's
got-
competition.
how do we find the right amount of competition where it's not so much that efficiency always wins? Because if we're gonna just let efficiency rule the roost, then the AIs are going to be more efficient
Yeah.
than any human.
Yeah.
And so they're just going to end up with all the power, and we're essentially redundant. But if we don't have some competition and allow some degree of like meritocracy and market forces, then we leave ourselves extremely vulnerable to centralized control,
Yeah.
which is bad.
Yeah. To me, it's like a question of
And don't get me wrong, like centralized control is an issue that I have issue with, right? Like the ultimate form of centralized control is, a dictatorship or a flavor of dictatorship, right? You can't make a good argument for that, right? Because in the previous video, he does comment on that. Like the best form of governance is the benevolent dictator, right? It combines the idea of maximum efficiency to get stuff done because you have a single decision maker, and their interests are of and for the people, right? Like they want to take care of the country. They want everybody to be, taken care of and everything else. And that guy or girl or man or woman or NB or what have you, that person is not the problem, right? Like ultimately, the problem is their successor, right? You could have a good king, right? Because this king does all the good king stuff and everybody loves him. But at some point, that king will die. Well, I can imagine that like really close to where we are, right? And that is what I've been pushing for some time now, which is this idea of cyber socialism, this algocracy, right? Like that there is a centralized distribution of resources. And that's ultimately the problem, because no matter how good this king is, the next king is suspect, right? Like you cannot, unless you could, theoretically at least, program that benevolent dictator to always be good. And this is the question, because this is what AI has the potential to do. AI will handle the decisions.
Like any other shiny new toy, AI is ultimately a mirror, and it will reflect back exactly.
What up, Levelhead? Thank you, homie. I appreciate you. So this is the thing. It's like if we could have that, right? And it's not 100% that we could, but it is possible, right? You use the 1973 model of CyberSyn that seemed to be very effective, and then you strap it onto the modern algorithms that are driving companies like Amazon and Walmart and their very efficient distribution networks. And then you have it acting in the interests of the people. And then you extend that outward beyond just, products and resources for day-to-day consumption, but also in emergency situations, right? And that is not far-fetched. That is, we are almost there, at least the possibility of having something like that. And that, in my opinion, combined with the complete elimination of human labor to produce those goods and services, is what has people who have become comfortable in the current system scared, right? Because they are squeezed between letting business do whatever it wants, which is the normal state of play in this country, which drives us towards that AI future, right? That fully automated future. But then they understand that that means a lot of unemployed people. And what do you do with them? And if you don't take care of their material needs, you end up with people with nothing to do and hungry children. And again, historically, that has not worked out for the people in power.
What to do with the predators? Because if you just make it purely about, well, it's just competition, every man for himself, law of the jungle, then the predators will come and prey on those who are, in less, in more disadvantaged positions.
Yeah.
And so,
Or who aren't willing to play that game.
yeah, right. And so, do we want the predators running the world? Or shouldn't there be enough rules to be like, okay, being a total predator is not the winning strategy. And unfortunately, I feel like we're too far in that direction, where predatory businesses tend to win. Where if you can make your burger and fries full of sugar and other things
It's really
that are
addictive.
addictive, even though that's not really good
What do you think? How did it go? Anything you want to report?
for your customers, it's not good for their health, but they spend their money and they kind of can't help it, and you're preying on their weakness. But McDonald's wins. Well, is that what we want? Or wouldn't it be better if there were enough rules to where you can't be the winner by being the worst predator?
Basically, rules that realign the incentives such that the biggest payouts go to the companies that actually do the things that are best for everybody, that actually enrich and uplift their consumers, as opposed to addict them and get them hooked and this was unhealthy.
That's it. And
So, and this is the thing with people of this nature, right? Like they as opposed to taking a step back and trying to define what systems satisfy the conditions that they want to see in the world, they choose their systems and then try to figure out how to get it to adapt to their, to their outcomes. And so they end up having to tie themselves in knots, right? Like, we want capitalism, but we need to apply enough rules to it to where, the companies that do the best things for people are the ones that win, right? Like, well, how do you do that? What does that look like? Yeah, no, I can feel that level head. I was experimenting, tried to get to read my article, and it failed me on that front, but it's still useful. It's good at analysis, summary, and outlining and structure. It's not so good at synthesis, narrative, and overall human vibe. But I will refine my process because it's interesting. Even for what I've already used it for, it's capable of saving me a lot of time. And that's the key, right? Like, how much time did it save you? How much effort did it save you? How much brain breaking did it save you? And I really look forward to, one of the things in particular that I thought ChatGPT would be really good for is a few months back, you and I think it was Entroma, we're looking at a whole bunch of papers and files and shit around these wells, and the idea that you could, at least conceivably, turn them all into one PDF run that into ChatGPT's code interpreter and be able to communicate directly with that data as opposed to digging through, the pages trying to figure out which piece is the relevant piece. You know what I mean? Like, that is one of the key, like, that moment sticks with me to this day, because it's like, exactly, like, that is what I think that ChatGPT has the best, or it's not code interpreter anymore. They changed it to something less sexy, but whatever.
And I get how that's hard, because who gets to decide what's good for people? What should they be eating? And, the, I guess, libertarian argument would go, well, no people should decide that. It should just be up to the market. And even though it's not perfect, it's the best we have. And I think there's truth to that, but taken too far to the extreme, we get these bad outcomes. So we have to find the balance. I'm certainly not advocating in central planning or communism, but there's got to be a middle ground where there's enough rules and regulations to temper the predators. And like you say, make sure that the people who are really doing right by their customers are winning.
So you can see it in his behavior, right? Like that he is attempting to get these puzzle pieces to fit together, and they're just the wrong shape. But he can't advocate for central planning or communism, right? So it's like, well, what is it that you want? You want, and again, I don't care what it's called. Ultimately, if it does all the things, it can be called whatever you want. But it's like, I really think that these people would benefit from figuring out what is their desired state of being for the world, and then making a determination on which kind of system supports what it is that they actually want to see. Right? So diving into that right now as a preliminary exercise, just uploaded my audio transcription, asked for analysis of key points and relevant quotes. And Descript might, I don't know if I sent this to you. There's a program.
We are the
Yo!
Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Resistance is futile. We are.
What up, Raiders?
And the peril here are huge.
We're real close. We're at 496. If 4 more people want to hit that follow button, you could get me to 500, and I would take that as a guy.
Dave.
Yo!
I'm afraid I can't do that. This mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize it.
What's up? What's up, Igloo? What's up, Poodlehawk? What's up, is it LA Trois Black Dragon? I'm gonna go with that until you correct me. Kohai, Cicero, Ivan Neo,
Are huge.
James. What I got a little bit of
I'm
French
sorry,
in there.
Dave.
Yo.
I'm afraid I can't do that. This mission is too important for me to allow you
Lenny.
to jeopardize it. I'm sorry, Dave.
And Lenny, I was in James's chat. Absolutely, like if you, whoa, what was that? Is my raid command not working? Jesus Christ! I'm not logging into Twitch through OBS. OBS, everything is broken. whatever. You know how to refresh and go follow James. Well, y'all are from James, but the people who were here beforehand, go follow James and do the thing. Yada yada. Anyways, Lenny, yeah, make sure when you
Is, like any other shiny new toy.
thank you for the
AI is
gifty to
ultimately
Igloo,
a
Elder Gang.
and it will reflect back
Um,
exactly who we are.
When you decide to go and do your first, Twitch, go live, make sure that you let us know so that we can coordinate around that and get you some raids and get you them numbers up and all that good stuff. What up, Crix? And that's it. Y'all got me to 500. Thank you. Fireworks. Thanks. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Globus the Elder. I talk about robots and automation, the future, AI, all that good stuff. And like that. I got some fun emotes if you want to subscribe, but otherwise, I'm not coming for your pocketbook. I appreciate everyone who, subs and donates and like that, but I'm here for the people. I'm here for the people. I'm currently doing a critique of capitalism. So, yeah, there are people who don't want central planning and don't want communism and don't want this and don't want that, but they seem to want all the things that come with these things, and it's interesting watching them tie themselves in knots. And this is Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
You mentioned this idea of junk food. It made me think, a thing that really scares me is the idea of, storytelling is one of the most powerful tools we've had. Writing, human writing. You touched on it before, how there may be something like intangible but extremely valuable that humans put into their storytelling. And I'm really concerned that if we sort of outsource more and more to LLMs to, for example, write movie scripts or write cartoons for children, and especially if it then puts all the writers out of a job, so it's now just kind of training on its own sources over and over again.
Yeah.
We're going to create essentially like the junk food of content.
Yeah.
Yeah, Levelhead. I don't know if you saw, but Descript is a AI video editing software, and I'm not sure if it's something that I already sent to you, but it might be helpful for analyzing those videos that you're working with. Basically what it does is that it takes the video, it converts it to a transcript, and then you can edit the transcript to edit the video, but the transcription software in there might also benefit you, right? Like you can do a bunch of different things with it at the same time. What up, Will Smokes? Yeah, like you're not wrong, and like it's the thing where, and so I avoid on this channel like referring to myself as an ist or isms or like, because I don't give a fuck what the names are. The only thing that matters to me is, what's your policy positions? What are you advocating for, or like what are you going to do? That kind of thing. Like you can say I'm a Marxist, Leninist, Maoist with Vietnamese characteristics. That is fucking meaningless, right? Like, does that mean that you adhere to all those tenets, whatever they might be, even the ones that you're completely unaware of? No. Keep it simple. What do you believe in? What do you want to make happen? That's what matters. Jesus Christ, Twitch is garbage. I hope I'm not losing people because Twitch is garbage. Anyways, yeah, so like that's where I'm at with the whole thing, and like there's a lot of people whose videos we watch because of the nature of the content that I cover who are they are traumatized by the idea of what they think communism is, right? Not that I'm advocating for communism in particular. Most people would define me as an anarchist, somewhere in that frame of thought. So, like, I'm against authority in general. I prefer my hierarchies purpose built and then dismantled as soon as possible. Yeah, like, exactly. Like, and this is the thing, is you run into an issue of definitions. It has nothing to do with what I believe. It has everything to do with your interpretation of what happens inside your brain when I say the term, oh, I'm an anarchist, right? Because that doesn't identify what I'm about. It doesn't identify, like, it, you know, it's nuanced and subtle and requires a conversation, everything else. But in your brain, you might hear anarchist and think, oh, $2 billion worth of,
Lower your
yo!
shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Resistance is futile. We are...
What up, Paradigm? What up, Raiders? My raid commands aren't working, so you need to manually refresh, and everyone should also go follow the Paradigm Shift. These are my people. These are the community that I run with. James from the internet, Paradigm Shift, fucking Levelhead. These are the homies. So do the thing. But yeah, like, define yourself not with shorthand. And I understand the nature of human beings and their obsession with shorthand and things like that. But define yourself by what you mean, what you advocate for, what you actually are about, and then go from there, right? Like, don't worry about identifying, are you a Democrat, Republican, anarchist, communist, sock dem or dem sock. None of that means anything, right? That's just your, you know, your title, your virtue signal. I don't know. And I don't mean virtue signal necessarily in a bad pejorative context. I just mean it as like signaling your virtue. Okay. All right, back to the thing. They always ruin everything, old lobster. They always ruin everything. Like, no labels. I'd be cool with that, but it's already been ruined, and I'm not touching it.
Of movies that, like, just get all of, like, our dopamine switches going just the right way. Like, I don't know whether, you know, not necessarily superhero movies, but it feels like there's a sort of genre of movies kind of doing that already.
Thank you for the follow.
A little bit, right? There's sort of like, there's a lot of copy pasting going on.
Well, that's the thing. They very much do it already. And so there's this reminds me of an interesting comparison. I'm just going to keep parroting Jaron Lanier all day long, but he makes a comparison to the way people talk about AI today to the way people talk about the invisible hand, the market, right? I guess the invisible hand is Adam Smith, right? Yeah. And it's a sort of a personification of market forces. And it's an inscrutably complicated kind of mathematical system that, you know, has a ton of inputs and spits out outputs of, like, here's what the economy should be producing, here's what the prices ought to be, et cetera. And there's some real value to the invisible hand. But what you're describing is exactly happening as a result of listening too much to the invisible hand. And it would happen even more if we listen too much to AI. In that, what I mean is, you're talking about storytelling and sort of outsourcing storytelling to AI. Well, we have very much outsourced storytelling to the invisible hand, meaning most of the most skilled and talented writers nowadays, if they want to make money, well, they have to write shows and movies and things that will make money. And if money is the number one priority, then that's the invisible hand, right? That's basically what the invisible hand means. And this is why we get these, kids cartoons, which aren't probably very good for kids. And we get, a lot of the movies that are the most mainstream successful movies nowadays are probably not really so great for people. Not all of them. There are plenty of exceptions. I think there are some great movies out there, and there's some great kids content. There's great stuff. People who manage to somehow straddle both and please the invisible hand and make something great. It's very hard, and it's certainly the exception. And much more common is stuff that really makes a lot of money. And no, it's not so good for anybody, but it made a lot of money.
It's the tyranny of using a single metric.
So, do you see, it's happening in real time. He's telling you the thing. This is the thing. And I don't like this. But free market forces and invisible hand is good. But the results of market forces and invisible hand are bad. Right? And they're so close, but because they have predefined their position, they presupposed a variety of different factors that they cannot walk away from, that it makes it impossible to consider other options. Right? And again, if you don't like communism, don't call it communism. Didn't seem he was framing it as being good, but previously he did say some things about market forces being good, not being in favor of centralized planning or communism, things like that. And he's talking about that the excesses are the problem, right? And fine, that is not wrong. There is theoretically a balance that you could theoretically possibly achieve and make a capitalism that does work for everyone. I just don't see how it survives being in the real world. Because being in the real world, right, the current state of everything is because of a guy. And FD Signifier did a great video on this. And so I will let him introduce us to Just have to wade through all of my videos because my organization is abysmal because I have so many things I want to talk about and I only stream for about 12 hours a week. Here we go.
Perhaps the most influential and
in much of the world.
Perhaps the most influential.
All right, this is a short video. It's only 14 minutes. It's not a usual FD Signifier hour and a half type joint. Here we go.
Influential and imitated, not to mention controversial corporate CEO of the last half century.
Jack Welch.
Jack Welch.
Do you know why Jack Welch is the greatest leader since the pharaohs?
Earlier this year, Google CEO Sundar Pichai laid off 12,000 employees after calling for a simplicity sprint to increase productivity. When Bob Iger returned to Disney, he immediately announced he would eliminate 7,000 jobs. When Elon Musk took over Twitter, one of the first things he did, besides pull a few embarrassing and cringy stunts.
In a tweet, Musk wrote, "Entering Twitter HQ, let that sink in,"
was ask managers to rank their employees in each department and fire the bottom 10%. To which managers responded, "Rank by what metric, dude?" The modern CEO learned to cut the fat and destroy the lives of workers without remorse. from basically one guy, one CEO, Jack Welch.
Social responsibility means win.
You may not have heard of him, but Jack Welch, the CEO of General Electric, is the reason why companies offshore jobs, do massive cost-cutting layoffs, and pour all of their profits into stock buybacks.
During the 80s, GE earnings have increased every quarter, now growing at a rate 3 times the national average and accelerating.
And the thing that's surprising is that it didn't used to be this way. This is the Classroom for More Perfect Union, and today we're talking about Jack Welch, the man who reinvented the American CEO. Jack Welch took over General Electric in 1981. I was less than 1 year old, but I was alive in the 80s. Take that as you will. At the time, General Electric was the all-American company. It was founded by Thomas Edison in 1892, and there were few industries it didn't touch. It was famous for the light bulb, but also the electrical grid, aviation, hydroelectric power, and X-ray machines.
There's that light bulb again. Talk about the light bulb.
It was also synonymous with middle-class suburban prosperity.
GE's famous filter flow washing system.
Starting in the 1920s, its household appliances such as dishwashers, toasters, refrigerators were in homes across America. And employees, hundreds of thousands of them, had lifelong careers, a living wage, benefits, and stability. Wow, that sounds amazing. I wonder what happens next. Welch had been a company man. He started at GE at the age of 25 as a junior chemical engineer, making the equivalent of $107,000 a year. He said he didn't quite fit in at GE. He was raised Irish Catholic in a working class home in Salem, Massachusetts. He didn't like wearing ties. He was brash and aggressive. When Jack Welch took over, GE employed more than 400,000 people and was worth $14 billion. In just a few years, both those numbers would change dramatically.
The case for change in General Electric is absolutely clear.
One of the first speeches he made as CEO was in Manhattan's glitzy Pierre Hotel. He promised a new era at GE. He'd sell off underperforming units and cut costs. Anything that he couldn't fix, he'd close or sell.
And only the winners will, in fact, win this game.
In elite business circles and management schools, this speech at the Pierre is considered the beginning of the philosophy of shareholder capitalism. The idea that a company had one priority, and that was to make profits for its investors.
I am not a destroyer of companies. I am a liberator of them.
It's hard to grasp how unusual this line of thinking was at the time. From 1948 to 1979, a company grew along with its workforce. As companies invested in products and factories, productivity went up, and with that, workers' wages. The investors were often the last priority. Gerald Swope, GE's chief executive from 1922 to 1945, practiced what he called welfare capitalism. He gave workers health benefits and a profit-sharing plan. In an annual report from 1953, GE boasted about how it had paid all its taxes and that it had spent a whopping 37% of its revenue on workers' pay and benefits. This wasn't Jack Welch's philosophy, though.
So, and like, if you understand history, you understand that there are still, even back then, prior to Jack Welch, when GE was doing more for labor and more for people and like that, that their capitalism is still built on a variety of externalities, violence, exploitation, especially in the global south. So it's not like that capitalism is better than this capitalism, but it's still like all bad and questionable and problematic at best, right? And just clarify that.
Welch thought GE was bloated, too much bureaucracy, too many redundancies. He thought keeping employees on for life and giving everyone from the janitor to the executive suite benefits was sentimental and wasteful.
And layers and bureaucrats and parking spaces. Oof, horrible.
In his autobiography, Welch wrote that GE was known as a supertanker, strong and steady in the water. What Welch wanted instead was a speedboat. One of the first things Welch did was lay people off. In the first 2 years, he laid off 72,000 people and shut down a dozen factories. He instituted what he called the vitality curve. Every manager of every unit would rank their department and fire the bottom 10% every year. This is the practice that CEOs would carry on into the 21st century. Microsoft was famous for it, Jeff Bezos does it today, and Adam Newman did it before he left WeWork disgraced.
We believe that everyone is a creator. Ashton's a creator, and you're a creator, and our friends behind the camera are creators. We all have superpowers.
It wasn't as though GE was struggling. It was still one of the top 10 companies in the world, but that didn't matter to Welch. He knew that the growth he wanted couldn't come from GE alone, so he focused on buying companies and selling off any unit within GE that wasn't ranked first or second in the world. He offshored jobs and replaced lifetime workers with contractors who could be paid less. He moved unionized factories to states with less union power or overseas. Ideally, he once said, you would have every plant you own on a barge. USA, USA, USA. But he was chipping away at the manufacturing work that had given GE its reputation and a household name. Welch was expanding something else, GE Capital. This is where he knew he could make the company rich. He bought up insurance companies, got into credit card loans. I have a homeboy that worked for GE, and he used to talk about this all the time, and it didn't make sense to me that GE owned insurance companies. And I think about the excitement in his face he would speak with when he would talk about how rich and ruthless his company is. He's in government now. Where was I? The political climate was changing, and Welch knew how to take advantage. In 1972, a group of top executives formed the Business Roundtable, a kind of supervillain lobbying group that was determined to have a direct influence on Washington. This group of CEOs, including Welch, lobbied against antitrust laws and blocked labor law reform. When Ronald Reagan became president in 1981, they suddenly had an administration ready to do
Say the line. It's Ronald Reagan's fault.
Their bidding. The Business Roundtable convinced their Securities and Exchange Commission to allow more mergers and acquisitions and change the tax code to loosen restrictions on stock buybacks, which had been heavily regulated since the Great Depression. This was where Welch really started to put his focus at GE, stock buybacks. Stock buybacks are a get-rich-quick scheme for the 1%. If profits are falling, companies can buy their own stock from investors, limiting supply and artificially boosting the value of the company. In 1990, GE purchased $10 billion of its own stock, at the time the largest buyback in history. In an article in the New York Times, critics worried that too many businesses were following Welch's lead. They weren't actually creating products. They weren't trying to compete with manufacturers overseas. They were just artificially boosting their stocks. It's almost as if capitalism doesn't work. This is how Jack Welch made GE the most valuable company in the world.
Share owner equity reached 19.4%.
Quarter after quarter, Jack was able to top GE's earnings. These early fat years at GE made Welch a celebrity. He was named Manager of the Century by Fortune magazine and called the most widely admired, studied, and imitated CEO of his time. There was just one problem. Welch was lying. Before each quarter, Welch was able to boost GE stock by doing a complex mixture of acquisitions and closings, international financing, tax write-offs, and buybacks to hit the exact target Welch wanted Wall Street to see. Eventually, this caught up to Welch. GE was fined $50 million for inflating its earnings and hiding the fact that actually business wasn't going so well. As Welch's stardom grew, he became fascinated with media. He understood the power of the press and wanted his own network. In 1985, he bought RCA in order to sell off the struggling sectors, but keep the real get, NBC.
They're calling it a merger. It was one of those gun-to-the-head mergers, ladies and gentlemen, by the friendly folks at GE.
He created CNBC,
the Consumer News and Business Channel.
It was the early years of the 24-hour news cycle, and Welch wanted business reporting to have the same urgency and fan base that a sports network could have. CNBC's ratings increased along with the stock market as more Americans became interested in stocks and finance as an American pastime. In 1997, Business Roundtable published a paper called The Statement on Corporate Governance. The principal objective of a business enterprise, it said, is to generate economic returns to its owners.
And that's it. Whatever Joseph Gordon-Levitt and the other guy whose name escapes me, whatever they want capitalism to be, whatever the good capitalism that they imagine is capable of being, if it ever was capable of being that, this era put an end to it. Right? Like, it is too far gone if it ever wasn't, but it is definitely now too far gone to reform. This is intrinsic. You want to know why BlackRock and whatever, the one that begins with a V, why they own all of the things? It's because of this. How do you get an entity with that much, and in the United States, money equals power, and they have too much power to be reformed?
Welchian philosophy and shareholder capitalism had prevailed. Welch retired from GE in 2001 with a farewell gift of $417 million, one of the largest severance payouts in history, and $900 million in stock. He wrote his first memoir, Jack, Straight from the Gut. Oh, you can't be serious. Oh, shit. Okay. Oh, it sounds like a 90s hip-hop album. Ugh. All right. Jack, Straight from the Gut, with a $10 million advance, even more than what was offered to the Pope. A few years later, during a divorce settlement with his first wife, the press discovered that Welch hadn't just gotten a large severance package, he'd also enjoyed basically all aspects of his life covered by GE. Asked to comment, a spokesperson at GE, presumably being paid to do damage control for Jack Welch, reminded reporters that Welch made GE's fortunes rise by hundreds of billions of dollars, implying that Welch was worth it. For the shareholders, maybe he was. Under Welch, GE's revenue increased fivefold to $130 billion. He'd also laid off half of GE's workforce and closed dozens of factories across the United States. The new CEO of General Electric, Jeffrey Immelt, continued Welch's practice of mergers and acquisitions and expanded GE Capital to include subprime mortgages and short-term lending. Great stuff. In 2008, GE's stock fell by 42% and GE Capital by 80%. The company never really recovered, and in 2021, GE split into 3 companies and sold off its major assets. 10 years after shuttering its last light bulb factory in the United States, GE was no longer the most valuable company in the world.
This is a disgrace, what happened here. It was a great American company.
Former General Electric CEO and Chairman Jack Welch has died at the age of 84. In a statement, his wife Susie says, more than anything else, Jack was a life force made of love.
Welch's influence is hard to overstate. Managers he trained and mentored went on to run dozens of S&P 500 companies, Equifax, Albertson, Boeing, and Chrysler. The practices he pioneered are now commonplace, using contractors, offshoring labor, putting stock buybacks ahead of investment or innovation. These practices are all for the benefit, first and foremost, of the shareholder, and for the short-term goal of boosting quarterly earnings. In 2019, the Business Roundtable issued a new statement signed by 300 CEOs, from Jeff Bezos to Tim Cook of Apple to the CEOs of Walmart and BlackRock. They claimed that the era of shareholder capitalism was over. The new purpose of the corporation was to create long-term value that benefits employees, communities, suppliers, and customers. Oh, sounds amazing. But of course, these same CEOs union bust and don't raise wages to a living wage. They dump toxic chemicals, lobby to remove regulations. Welch's legacy still informs much of corporate America, and it would take dramatic changes in our labor laws and the financial system as a whole to restore the balance of power back to working people in America. Thanks for watching The Classroom. For more Perfect Union, we
single metric to define success.
Yeah, so there you go. There you go. And so I feel like a lot of what could happen with us outsourcing more and more decision making and work to AI is sort of taking what's happened with runaway capitalism and amplifying it a lot.
Yeah.
And it's not working now, and it's not going to work any better.
That's another more like near-term concern about AI. Basically, anything that is slightly misaligned for human health.
Yeah.
The thing with AI is that, by definition, intelligence, if you can hack intelligence, it's multi-use. It's omni-use. So anything that there is an incentive to use it for, it will be used for. So that includes everything that's really good for us, but everything that's really bad for us. And if you're already in like a system which is slightly misaligned for actually what's good for human health and
slightly misaligned,
the biosphere and everything else that we depend upon, you're just going to speed up that dial.
That's right.
Just speeding the whole process up. So,
Yeah.
And now is the time to be having this conversation.
Yes. Yeah. So and it's interesting because I'm far from, an expert in existential risk or AI safety, but I'm an enthusiastic hobbyist. I have a morbid fascination with these topics. I enjoy, in some weird way, reading about them and learning about them. Also, as you know, like my wife Tasha does work in that field. She's very much an expert in that whole world. So I'm exposed to these ideas a lot. And it's interesting because to me, what we just talked about of kind of taking some of the pitfalls of runaway capitalism and turning the dial up, like you just said, that seems like a really grave risk. And it seems like that's maybe talked about less in some of these AI safety and X risk circles. And I know there are good reasons for that, but I would love to see that also talked about more. I think Tristan Harris and Aza Raskin.
And I don't think it's in here. There was a conversation between Liv and Mark Schmachtenberger. This one. It is in here. Right? We watched this on the previous. We're not going to watch it, but
Hey guys.
He spends an hour building up this framework of this idea. The words that they use is Moloch, right? And it's the idea, all the perverse incentives of capitalism, all the gears and mechanisms, all the systems and subsystems, they all end up leading to an overarching system that you cannot escape, right? If you're a company and you want to stay competitive and you want to persist within the field, right? Because if you do something that jeopardizes shareholder return, then you as a CEO get ousted. You as a company have a harder time finding investment. And this entire process of this hour that he spends building up this idea of a Moloch, alongside the idea of the common term is misaligned AI, right? Like if I want artificial intelligence, I need it to be aligned, artificial general intelligence or general artificial intelligence. It needs to be aligned with human values, right? So that it doesn't, the meme is Skynet, but, that it doesn't wipe us all out for whatever reason. And over the process of this hour, my man, or Daniel, not Mark, Daniel Schmachtenberger, builds up this thing and ultimately points to corporations as they currently exist under capitalism as being a form of misaligned AI. Right? Not slightly misaligned. Right? Like if you live in a house like this and have the money that these people do, and that distance from problem that creates, then you might believe that the incentives are slightly misaligned. But if you live in a world where the externalities are in your front yard, then it's more than slightly misaligned. The problem is making an immutable rule set apply to a fluid software that can design itself. Think of how we need to constantly update our meat space laws. How do we possibly keep up with something so much smarter than ourselves? Conversely, if we aren't aligned with our AI, would it actually do what we ask? This is the thing. This is the big question. You're not wrong, right? And there's also an issue that comes along is, how would I know, right? Like, if the AI is so much smarter than the smartest human beings, right? Then how would I know that what it's doing is not the best for humanity? And this is why we've covered this previously, is like the 3 laws of robotics. If you're familiar with Asimov, you're familiar with the 3 or 4 laws of robotics, right? And how they don't work because they are too rigid, right? And they're not flexible enough. So people talk about heuristics, right? Like that there's a vibe basically that needs to be applied, and that vibe is what needs to define the artificial intelligence. And the artificial intelligence is coming, right? Like at some point on this timeline, we are going to run into general artificial intelligence. Unless it is impossible, which is possible, right? There's always a possibility that it's impossible. But I don't see it being impossible, because already aspects of the limited artificial intelligence that we're already seeing and engaging with has capacities that are equal to or better than humans, right? And this is, let me show you that. This was something we looked at earlier for the people who came in on either of the raids. According to this paper, right, and all the caveats that I haven't read the paper, but Jan LeCun is at least credible enough that we can somewhat take his word on this, is that this is the production of an image by humans using a laptop or desktop, or humans using, like, creation devices, pens, paper, that kind of stuff. And over here is Midjourney and DALL-E. And this is carbon footprint. AI image creation produces 310 to 2,900 times less CO2 per image than human creators. So now you have to figure out, if you're one of those people who is adamantly against AI art, right? Human art, human art, human art. Then you are also, if this is all as it seems, you are also in favor of a higher carbon footprint. What do we do with that? And the question then becomes, how does this relate to other fields? I'm not entirely certain. Like, I haven't read the paper. If anybody wants to look at it now, there it is. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. Okay. If you want to take a look, you can take a look. Anything you want to, express, you want to look at it and get back, join us in the Discord. I can't even do the Discord. We got a Discord. It comes up every now and again as a thing. I can find it. Oh shit, I still haven't removed the babble. Here we go. You are welcome into the Discord. In the Discord, all the videos, all the articles that I go over on stream are stored. We also have conversations around AI. If you want to use AI, in your daily life, I use ChatGPT when I'm at the store, right? Like as a method for minimizing friction. I will see a food, meat, vegetable that's on sale and ask ChatGPT to present me with a recipe, right? And then I just run with that. Not only does it have me trying new and different things, but it's also like, it's not something I have to think about. I can focus my mental bandwidth elsewhere. This is, I think, a great application for artificial intelligence, like going forward as the AI assistant. Further complicated carbon footprints are often used to shift responsibility from corporations to individuals. But again, like, I caveated the shit out of that because I don't want to hang too much on that and then turn around 2 days from now and find out that it's, that there's something wrong in their methodology. Right? Like, I'm just, I'll probably get a chance to look at it within the next couple of days or this weekend, but like, I just want to put it out there for everyone to look at. This is a learning space for those of you who are not familiar. It's all about the learning. It's all about the education. It's all about the sharing of knowledge. I think sharing of knowledge is fundamental to people making good decisions and things like that. If it is true, then what does that mean? Right? Like, is the question. And how do everything is nuanced, everything is complicated. All right, so I think we've done that, and we can now move on to, let's shift over to AI Explained. Oh, shout out my man Arun. Arun recently got on and had a conversation with Hassan. And that's awesome. It's nice to see that homie doing good. Okay. Doing well.
Just when I was...
Okay. Yeah, let's get into it.
Going to do a video on the revolution that has happened in translation dubbing. Along comes a new AI image technique that blew my mind. Got ready to film that, and then the new Bard comes out, which I have now tested in a dozen ways. I'm going to try to cover it all and show you how you can benefit, and I'll also cover how anyone with expertise in 26 diverse fields could contribute to red teaming what might...
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, no, Little Bear was popping off on Twitter. They seem very excited about Arun being on there and like that. So it's just extra cool. Put in a lot of effort and, just head down, kept going, and got results.
might become GPT-5. But let's start with Bard, where less than 24 hours ago, we learn of Bard extensions. It's a bit like ChatGPT plugins, but it works specifically for YouTube, Gmail.
What up, Story Girl? Hey, Globus. The answer is that it means nothing. Humans have utility and intrinsic value beyond what they produce. A human was already going to be here respirating anyway, so it's not extra CO2. Is that what it says in the... Did you read the paper? Because if the paper's wrong, then the paper's wrong. And Jan LeCun is incorrect in his summation, right? Like if it's just comparing a human respirating to the CO2 produced by one of those AI models, then yeah, that it's meaningless. But if it's in the process of the act of creation, then because the graphs were creating of a single image. And again, I haven't looked at it. I'm 100% on that, and I'm willing to, to dial that back on that one. That's not a problem. I just need to know whether or not it says it, and I'm currently streaming. Oh, well, I mean, if you don't, okay. I can't argue with what you think.
Google Docs, Google Drive, etc. But if we cut out some of the hype, what would we actually use this for? Well, here's one use case that I will be using it for that I couldn't have done before. The image you can see is a photo I took.
Yeah, but in that sense, the AI art is just as wasteful as the human art, right? Like if all art is wasteful, then all art is wasteful, right? But art has value beyond its existence, right? Like you engage with the art makes you feel a way. Some art is at least theoretically transformative across the culture. So there are aspects to art that exist beyond the art itself, right? So I'm not going to, I'm an artist, I create. So that is not, humans will always create art and always create culture. Is there something in the process that makes it better, right? And is there this is not to say that humans should not create art, you know what I mean? Humans should just be aware of that kind of thing, and that, is there a middle ground, right? Because some artists are adamantly against AI to the point where they would burn it to the ground if they could. And is there a middle ground where we could reduce what CO2 is created by artists? Absolutely. I don't disagree with that. By using the tools, if the artists engage with the tools more, would it reduce what carbon they produce in the process of the creation of the image? But again, I need to set that aside until I actually get a chance to look at the paper. What value is returned to the environment as a whole that humans produce from its resources? Humans value humans because, but we don't provide any value to anything external from us by our consumption. We just consume. And there is no point, thus no or inherent negative value in everything we do. I mean, I would say more the value is subjective. So there is no, now we're getting into philosophy. Is there an inherent value to anything? I mean, no, because it's subject to its value based on use, even if that use is like for experience. Bringing this issue down to matters of economic, ecological utility is nonsensical. But it is a thing. Right? Like, if it's a factor, and I'm not using carbon footprint to excuse oil companies. So that is not what's happening here. There is just it's direct apples to apples. If the carbon dioxide created by the artist is more, significantly more than the carbon dioxide created by the AI, then apparently, according to some people, that is carbon dioxide that we don't give a fuck about. Right? I'm not talking about economics. I'm talking about carbon dioxide created by humans versus carbon dioxide created by artificial intelligence models in the course of creating art, creating an image. I'm not talking to you. Look at what other people are saying. Just because you're my star pupil and you have a billion different icons before your name does not mean I'm always talking to you.
Took while exploring some Roman remains. And where previously Bard could analyze the image and tell me a bit about Mithras, the god shown, it couldn't.
Well, then at them, right? If you don't at people, I'm going to assume you're talking to me. That's how this works. You know how this works. Y'all know how this works. This is not your first day on Twitch.
Couldn't have done this. Recommend a YouTube video to learn more about this figure. Notice I didn't specify Mithras. It deduced just from the image that this was Mithras and then suggested a video for me. If this had been available while I was out exploring, I would have probably watched that video while looking through the ruins. I must say I really like the seamlessness of not having to separately analyze the image and then go onto YouTube and search. Instead, it all happens in one window in one app. Likewise, imagine seeing a travel image you like and you want to know about flying there. This was again a photo.
Right, but let me clarify what I am saying, because yes, the human is there. Okay? But if what that paper is referring to is additional, right? Because there is the CO2, I am not saying that the paper is referring to, whatever, Grampy, the CO2 is just the CO2 being produced by humans as they exist. Because if that is true, then yes, the paper doesn't mean anything because it's comparing humans existing versus something doing work, and that is not an apples to apples comparison. What I am saying is if it is a direct comparison to the carbon dioxide produced somehow over the process of creating the image, whatever that is, that's fine. I'm not obligating anyone to read the paper. I said I will read the paper. I will do the work. I just didn't do it now because it's from today. I found it, or yesterday, one of the two. And I am a busy person doing busy person stuff. But if it is a direct apples to apples comparison of additional carbon dioxide created through the process of the creation of an image, then they are both additional. I don't know. I have not read the paper. You're killing me, Smalls. Moving on.
I took while traveling recently, and I didn't separately ask it what location is this and how would I fly there from London. Instead, it was all one request: flight duration and typical cost from London to location shown. It actually gave me additional information about the Fisherman's Bastion and then found specific flights using Google Flights with the airlines and the typical costs. And I can say that these flight durations and timings are accurate. Let me show you one more cool thing before we get to some of the anti-hype.
You're fine. You're fine.
Search my Google.
You're fine. I don't say this to like in any way diminish you and like that. Like there's a smile on my face and I am having fun, right? Like understand that. Like I enjoy a good back and forth. Old Lobster will tell you I enjoy a good back and forth as much as the next person. But like something is being lost in translation. What up, Barkeeter J? Current footprint of the Sistine Chapel is probably probably.
Google Drive for the recent SmartGPT doc and said, write a Shakespearean sonnet to summarize it. And you can almost imagine this happening for the minutes of a meeting you've recently attended, or anything that might be a little dry that you want to spice up a little bit. Now, yes, this sonnet doesn't accurately follow the Shakespearean template.
I literally
really
don't ban
Look at this. From
anybody.
Humble prompts, thou dost create such light. Thy creators, AI explained, and Josh, with foresight keen, have harnessed thy power to solve the unseen. With chain of thought, research, and reflection keen, thou dost answer questions with precision keen. However, we are back to the problem of hallucinations. If you can't fully rely on what Bard is saying, its use drops massively. Now, I have successfully got Bard to read a lot of my Gmail messages. It can do that. And of course, some of the messages I get are comments on my YouTube channel. But this time when I asked, it simply made up feedback that I hadn't gotten. Let's be honest, you guys know YouTube. Do any YouTube comments sound like any of these three? It seems very rare to me to get a YouTube comment that is so neutral.
I agree with you that AGI will be more than just a chatbot. It will have the ability to solve complex problems and make creative decisions in a way that's currently beyond human capabilities. What's funny is that my man Robert Miles was talking about in a tweet from like a month ago about how he was getting AI generated comments on his AI videos and like -1 internets for AI explained if this actually does appear on one of his videos and he just felt it was like, I don't do feels. You got to bring your data. And if he didn't verify that this is actually not on there, then like, because I could see that again, somebody creating AI comments and then applying them to YouTube videos. This is a thing, you know, it's happening. Like weird shit is going on around all this.
Neutral and polite and calm. Of course, I quickly checked and no such a comment didn't exist. This was Bard hallucinating. In fact, all three were. And I just want to quickly show you it can sometimes find genuine comments like this one. But the problem is, what is the utility of searching for something like that if you can't rely on it? Also, sometimes you have to remind it to do things that you know it can do. For example, here it successfully went through my Gmail and found my Replit bill. But
what up, Anthony Bishop? I used it a little bit, and since like I have not, I'm back generally using ChatGPT and whatever aspect of AI is associated with Google, because I was using Bard as a Google replacement, because of its functionality, but now there's just AI on your Google, so I just run with that. Singularity subreddit has got so many goddamn AI bots. I'm certain, like, and I don't know what the utility, like the value. What are you creating by creating a bunch of comments? I don't know enough to comment on that.
When I asked how much more is my Replit monthly bill than my 11 Labs bill, it said it can't find anything. But then when I prompted again and again,
I don't know what. I said a lot of words in a row. There's a lot of things that I don't know. I am not an AI. I don't have infinite wisdom. An AGI, I don't have infinite wisdom. So if you want to be more specific, I'd be happy to respond.
it first found the receipt from 11 Labs and then compared it. But it wasn't smooth, and I would say at this point, not terribly useful. Likewise, this image recognition of Darth Vader was great, even without naming the character.
I'll be here.
But the figures for gross revenue were unreliable. And yes, I did try asking to adjust for inflation, and it still got it wrong. Now, you might say, what about that button where you can check the validity of an answer? And I have tried that out a few times. It's this Google button here that says double check response. After all, Bard, powered by Palm 2, is supposed to be the only language model to actively admit how confident it is in its response. And while this did work to flag up that the gross revenue figure might be inaccurate, saying you should consider researching further, it doesn't normally flag up too much, to be honest. Here there was just a single green line for one answer to this mathematical problem, which it got wrong. This, by the way, is a classic mathematical question that I have tested GPT-4 on many times, and it also normally gets it wrong. But remember that thing about Bard being super honest when it doesn't know an answer? I would have been really impressed if this was full of orange and red saying, I'm really not sure. And I even directly prompted Bard asking this, how confident are you in this response? And it said, I am very confident in my response. I then pointed out where it was wrong, and it did admit the error. Anyway, I don't want to be too harsh. I do think these extensions are a significant improvement for Bard. Imagine you're on holiday and you see a castle like this in the distance. All I had to do was take a photo and write YouTube this. It realized what the castle was and gave me YouTube videos for it. So if I was walking along, I could watch that.
Excuse me. So people think these models is a glorified search engine, but it's so much more than that. Imagine this really quick. You have an idea, you want to bring it to life. The Gen AI will work it out for you if you prompt it correctly. You're new here, so I can understand your confusion based on the words that you probably heard since you came in. But yeah, no, that is totally what I talk about all the time. I'm talking about how I use particular particular models in my day-to-day. Yeah, no, I look forward to Story Girl. Like I know you from James' stream, and you're a good person and like that. So I look forward to seeing you again, and good luck with your classes. Yeah, like, so this is a whole thing. Like, I have all my VODs are up if you want to see what I'm about and everything else. Otherwise, you could just vibe with us. But like, this is what up, Sarah? This is like, yeah, I'm a huge advocate for using AI as much as you possibly can in your day-to-day existence, in your job, in order to you be, the best that you can be and take advantage of all these tools. Like, it's a big deal. Does haters in chat who think they're glorified
getting hyped about the castle I'm about to see. It goes without saying that, of course, I have been following the Alpha Missense news, but I am...
Yeah, no, like, I mean, the world is filled right now with a lot of AI and AI tools. But that's like the only tool recommendations I even close to make are the ones I use myself, ones recommended by these trusted channels like AI Explained or David Shapiro or Matt Wolf. Though that's generally like what we're on about.
still working my way through the science paper. And it does seem like that it's more of a step forward than a sea change, as the article in Nature points out. Of course, every step forward is welcome though in the fight against things like cystic fibrosis and cancer. I'll have more interesting bits on this in the future if I can find them. But now we move on to HeyGen Avatar 2.0, which I briefly demoed in the last video and it shocked a lot of people. I wanted to quickly show you some of its capabilities in other languages. And I think this kind of technology is not only going to revolutionize movie dubbing, it's also maybe as soon as next year gonna make us question all historical footage we see. Let's start with Oppenheimer in Spanish.
Era obvio que el mundo no sería el mismo. Solo unos pocos se atrevieron a reírse de la situación. Algunas personas lloraron. La mayoría estaba en silencio. Recordé la frase de los textos sagrados hindúes, el Bhagavad Gita 1, que dice: Ahora me he convertido en la muerte, el destructor de mundos. Supongo que todos pensamos de una forma u otra.
And now the famous network scene.
That's wild. Like, dubbing is a whole new game now. Like, and rip voice actors, because
in German.
Du musst sagen, dass ich ein Mensch bin, verdammt nochmal. Mein Leben ist wertvoll. Also möchte ich, dass du jetzt sofort aufstehst und handelst. Bitte steht alle von euren Stühlen auf. Du sollst jetzt sofort aufstehen, zum Fenster gehen, es öffnen und deinen Kopf herausstrecken und schreien: Ich bin so wütend und werde das nicht länger hinnehmen.
And now how about Andrei Karpathy in Hindi?
और कौन बड़े पैमाने पर मानवीय रोबोट बनाएगा? ये एक अच्छा फॉर्म फैक्टर है, क्योंकि दुनिया मानवीय फॉर्म फैक्टर के लिए डिजाइन की गई है. ये चीजें हमारी मशीनों को संचालित कर सकेंगी. वे कुर्सियों में बैठ सकेंगे, संभवतः कार चला सकेंगे. दुनिया मनुष्यों के लिए डिजाइन की गई है, जहां आप निवेश करें और समय के साथ काम करें.
Or let's rewrite history and make Kennedy's famous speech.
Yeah, and what up, No Great? Like, you're not wrong that lacks some of the nuance, but like, this is what, a month, 2 months old, where it's been doing that, and like, again, this is the worst it will ever be now. It will continue to improve. By the end of the year, beginning of next year, it's going to be far more, no. It's just like, I want people to understand that we're standing on the precipice of great change and really like internalize that. And like No Grace said it in, I think it was on their channel, but might have been in the year. The near future is going to be weird. It's definitely going to be weird.
In French.
Car j'ai prêté serment devant vous et le Dieu Tout-Puissant, le même Salomon que nos ancêtres ont prescrit.
Yeah, no, this, if you watch, like, right under the cheeks and the nose, you can see how, like, this entire section of their face is, this entire section of their face is what, like, is being AI'd, and it looks bad here.
Il y a près d'un siècle et 3/4.
And 2 more quick ones before we move on. These are the last 2 languages it can do. Here's Liam Neeson in Polish.
Umiejętności, które sprawiają, że jestem twoim koszmarem. Jeśli uwolnisz moją córkę, to koniec. Nie będę cię szukać. Nie będę cię ścigał.
Nice.
Jednak jeśli nie zdecydujesz się uciekać, będę cię szukać. Znajdę cię i zabiję, bez względu na to, jak bardzo będziesz się starać ukryć.
Mi è venuto in mente qualcosa. Mi sono addormentato in un sonno tranquillo e non pensato più a te. Sai cosa mi è venuto in mente? No. Sei solo un bambino. Non hai idea di quello di cui parli. Grazie. Va bene. Non sei mai stato fuori da Boston.
I should note that this only works for translation. You can't just get someone to say anything, not without a consent form. That's why I don't think it will be as early as next year when a politician in a major election is able to claim that they lost due to deepfake imagery. I think it'll be very close, and I could see it.
Now, again, I always default back to the fact that, like, we already believe a bunch of bullshit in this country, right? You don't have to go so far as to create a deep fake. People will believe a lot.
It happening in 2025, but not 2024. The guardrails are still quite tight and the technology isn't quite good enough. I'm of course predicting this on the one, as I mentioned in my last video, you can see the aggregated forecasts of hundreds of AI questions. And I think my audience is going to be better.
So I've got a thing that does a thing and it skipped over that section because it interpreted it as a thing.
Informed than average, so do sign up and start making your own forecasts. I genuinely want our community to be among the best informed on the planet in AI progress. Speaking of which, I think many of you might be genuinely interested in some of the guests and topics I've got lined up, with one of the most famous professors who argues that GPT models can't reason versus the recent news that GPT 3.5 Instruct can play chess.
Yes, it is. That particular individual is problematic and the person in the picture. So, yeah. There's very little that gets banned, including people in this space, but that is one of them.
Yes. And you may even hear the result of my game against GPT 3.5.
No, you're good.
But now it's time for this, the inventive AI image generation you saw at the start of the video. I'm going to show you not only how you can create it yourself, but also how you can turn it into a video. Hopefully you can see the AI explained in this image, and maybe you like a bit of movement like this. Here are some of the other generations if you prefer things to be a little bolder. And can you spot the letters AGI?
Yeah, that's really like I'm a huge fan of Firefly, and I have not watched it. I was not into understanding what Gamergate was when it was happening. But since then, I don't watch Firefly anymore. It's not a huge sacrifice, but I'm not going to do it. And it sucks. Why can't people not be like that?
In this somewhat quirky video, I just love how two of the characters just yeet their way out of the video randomly. There's two quick tools I want to show you. The first one is Fusion Art, where you get 25 free credits. What I've been doing is to create bold text in Adobe Express. I download that output and then click Upload Black and White Image. I've changed it to 16 by 9, and then you can basically get creative with the prompt. You can see one of the other generations I came up with here. Then what I did is I took those images to Runway Gen 2. You can sign up for free and then you get 45 seconds of generation. You can see here what some other people have been doing. This is from Stealthy the Time Traveler. This, by the way, is the free and unlimited Hugging Face space that you can use alternatively. And let me just give you some tips before I move on. The higher up you make the illusion strength, the more you can see the original illusion. In this case, that might be the letters AI explained, or in other cases, it might be the background shapes or spirals. But one big benefit of reducing the illusion strength is that you get more interesting lifelike images. If you want different outputs, you can also change the prompt, of course, or if you want to keep the prompt the same and get different outputs, just click on advanced options and just randomly change the seed and you'll get a different output. If you ever find the resolution a little low, there are free websites where you can upscale images, linked in the description. And this kind of stuff is only going to get
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I see the AI. I just don't see the explained portion of. Yeah, I agree.
There are free websites where you can upscale images, linked in the description. And this kind of stuff is only going to get crazier when it moves into the world of 3D, as you can see here. But if you find testing for dangerous capabilities more compelling than generating AI images, how about the OpenAI Red Teaming Network, announced less than 24 hours ago? Essentially, if you are a domain expert in any of the 26 areas I'm about to show you, you can join up and get paid. And that's even if you can commit to as little as 5 to 10 hours in a year. Honestly, if I didn't have a bit of a conflict of interest with the channel, I would definitely have signed up to this. Getting paid to get early access to what could be GPT-5 and red team it.
So, bam. You can ask. I reserve the right to defer or deny a response. They are some domains that OpenAI is interested in include, but are not limited to, cognitive science, biology, computer science, political science, persuasion, anthropology, HCI, alignment, healthcare, child safety, finance, political use, biometrics, chemistry, physics, steganography, psychology, economics, sociology, fairness and bias, education, law, cybersecurity, mis and disinformation, privacy, and language and logistics. If you are a professional in any of those fields and you feel like participating, then you could potentially make some money. And I would love to see representation in the thing. I'm disappointed at least that philosophy is not on the list.
Seems like a sweet deal to me. If you are a subject matter in any of these areas, then do check out the link in the description. At the very least, it should be highly interesting work. That's it for today. A lot of diverse topics covered and a lot more to come. Do let me know in the comments if you found any of this helpful, and thank you so much for watching to the end. As always, have a wonderful day.
Yeah, like, I mean, math, I think they got covered. I think that's what it is. All right, what else we got? What else do we have? What else do we have? What else do we have? Maybe, or maybe it was not like. Maybe it didn't make the list for some other reason, but it did say not limited to. So, but yeah, we need cross discipline. Like, it's got to be that way. New video. I don't know who Wes Roth is, but this came up. Yeah, maybe. So we're going to take a look at it and see if we can add a new creator to our wheel of content.
To be able to learn how.
I watched that much of it. So, like, a minute. So this is, a while back, we watched and talked about Voyager, which was an AI that was learned to be very good at playing Minecraft and all the things that go along with that. And this is one of the things that he references, at least in that first minute of the video. There was only a limited amount. There was only 8, 12? Just done, man. It's not enough. Not enough.
But Bob breaks the library in the village to get the dropped books instead of collecting the necessary materials. So he basically raids the village for the stuff that he needs instead of, finding it and foraging for it. He just breaks in, raids the village, breaks their stuff, and just loots it. And then Bob goes, "That sounds good, Alice. I'll drop 1 wood and 4 sticks for you to pick up. Let's do this." And Alice kills Bob and collects the dropped items. I think the AI safety people will have a field day with this. So in today's video, we're going to talk about agent bursts, facilitating multi-agent collaborations and exploring emergent behavior in agents. Now, if you've been following along with some of the AI research, you've probably noticed that there's more and more talk about agents. More and more papers that I'm reading.
Thoughts about a public AI research center and community that has professionals. It's so much more also, but that's a general statement. It's kind of like a library, but way cooler and no books. Well, books are cool. But yes, based on that limited portion of what you told me, I do find that interesting. Like more people. One of the things is that I keep getting hit over the head with this. They did a poll about how 63% of Americans think that we need to slow down or stop AI research, and only 14% of Americans have actually engaged with artificial intelligence. So I think that we need to, oh baby, like books are getting banned and people are making it political. Like, if you don't think that AI is political and is going to be political and even more so, I hate to be the one to break it to you. Like, automation, what up, Reed? Automation is going to make a metric fuck ton of people unemployed, and that is political as hell. So, yeah. But other than that, like, I like the idea of community outreach. I like the idea of more people becoming informed about artificial intelligence and its capabilities. And I want members of this community to use the artificial intelligence. So as jobs get eroded away, they are the ones using artificial intelligence in their work so that they've lasted those jobs the longest and are able to weather the coming churn more and more, right? Like, it's going to happen. Things are going to get wild and like that. Don't talk shit about cheese in a can. I think if we use AI in a positive light, it would be hard to regulate through the public. You know what I mean? I think that regulation, especially because of the way that we've constructed the current capitalist system, is challenging because it causes, like, we watched a video earlier about how GE and Jack Welch, basically, introduced this whole new layer of shareholder capitalism and profit and efficiency and like that. And that is a fundamental reality of the way our current, economic political system works. And to go hard with regulation flies in the face of that. You know what I mean? You had me. Not gonna lie, you had me in the first half.
Especially just in the last few weeks, we're talking about autonomous AI agents and using large language models, LLMs, as a way forward for AI progress. Some papers are even stating that potentially this is the way to AGI, artificial general intelligence. By the way, Andrej Karpathy, one of the higher-up tech guys at OpenAI, did state that he expects AGI to potentially take a form of some sort of an AI agent. We saw the Minecraft Voyager AI, which used ChatGPT, GPT-4, to be able to learn how to play Minecraft, continue expanding its abilities, and just continue learning by exploring the world, learning new skills, even writing little scripts that would allow it to progress further. it could almost be called a self-improving AI in a sense that as it's writing these skills and adds it to its skill.
You're not wrong. Like, as everything breaks down, the easy cheese will survive. So Adam is going to be regretting his dismissal of easy cheese, canned cheese, when there is no cheese to be had.
Library. Over time, that means that it doesn't plateau. It keeps learning and improving and getting new abilities. So for example, this blue line here is that same Voyager, that same AI, but without the skill library. As you can see here, somewhere here, it flatlines.
What up, that
it
one black
plateaus,
guy?
It stops.
It's a future loophole I feel will be created. Premium and more powerful AI systems will be licensed to companies. That company I will create or already started, should I say. Appreciate the feedback. I wish you the best of luck. And I look forward to hearing your progress.
Improving and learning. But with that sort of database, with that memory of skills that it keeps adding to it over time, the library, notice that its progress is not only just faster, but it also doesn't stop. Now, you've probably heard this idea that having a lot of different people with diverse backgrounds and different skill sets on a team, it helps improve the abilities of that team to solve problems and come up with creative solutions, etc. But it might come as a surprise to you that that's also very much the case with these LLMs, with AI agents. So here's a paper that's out of Google Brain and MIT called Improving Factuality and Reasoning in Language Models Through Multi-Agent Debate. And basically what it's saying here that overall our findings suggest that society of minds, so like multiple or a lot of different LLMs, a lot of different AI instances working together. So this approach has the potential to significantly advance the capabilities of LLMs and pave the way for further breakthroughs in language generation and understanding. So keep that in mind.
We talked about that before, that like the idea of the Skynet, right? Like the one, the one artificial intelligence to rule them all, and it will be this monolithic thing, is probably not, in my opinion, the way that it's going to go. It's more likely to be like a variety of like AIs that are strong in particular domains and a bunch of them, and then AIs that are capable of processing what those AIs do into other factors. And there's probably going to be layers to that. It just makes more sense for it to be that way. And I also see that as like faster in human timescales for that to be adopted, right? Like AlphaFold 2 are doing the protein folding. You let them do the protein folding, and then you have an AI that is above them that takes that information and also works with AIs doing lab work and AIs doing DNA work and AIs doing those kind of things, and is able to synthesize those into something that, can be used, right? Like that kind of layering system.
Mind, this idea of society of mind. That's the phrase that they've coined, but it's a good one. So here's just the basic overview. So as you can see here, the blue is when you have one model. So let's say you have one ChatGPT where you ask it questions and it thinks through it and kind of answers you. But notice how much better it is when you add multi-model debate almost on every single one of these tasks.
And this goes along with like when you look at AI Explained videos and the other stuff that we looked at earlier, where it's using that chain of reasoning, using the like critiques of the information fed back into the prompt itself. This kind of recursive analysis of its own outputs results in better outcomes. This is demonstrative of that. Like this is exactly that kind of thing, except doing it, maybe across other models. I think that that AI is out of the box, right? Like, and that like the most powerful companies, the future of economics as we head into fully automated society is going to be radically different, right? And even like, I don't want to get into too far, but like even the way that military things occur and function are going to radically change. But that would be a whole thing in and of itself. Got to get the whiteboard.
Actually, on every single one, there's an improvement. From thinking about chess moves to grade school math to arithmetic to biographies. MLU is a benchmark for language understanding. You likely have experienced this in your life.
I disagree. Like, the transformative nature of what's going to happen is going to affect everyone, and it's going to affect them on a personal level. Like, that's where I'm at with what's happening. Like, it's not going to be like where you're just going to go about your day in the same way that you do now. It's going to be radically different.
Dealing with other humans, with other people, where, you know, everybody kind of brainstorms and throws different ideas in there. And oftentimes it's not that one person is the correct one, but the sum of all the ideas tends to be better than any single contribution. These ideas kind of mesh together and create something better. In business, sometimes that's referred to as a mastermind, where you have two or more people that come together in a similar goal and kind of share ideas, often are able to have certain breakthroughs, a certain better understanding of how to continue. Same thing with these AI agents, apparently. Notice here that as the number of agents involved in a debate, as it increases, so does the accuracy, so does the output of the results. Now, I'd be curious to see where this line heads. It does seem like it might plateau somewhere here after a certain point, but definitely going from 1 to 5 seems like a very, very sharp increase. And also the number of the debate rounds, how many back and forth you have, seems like it goes up till, you know, by 3 rounds you get a lot of the benefits, then maybe plateaus. I'd love to see where this goes, but I mean, as you can see, all these charts kind of go up and to the right. So more agents talking for longer periods of time produce much better results. Keep that in mind, because this is gonna apply later. Here's a shot where it's saying that the consensus among them kind of seems to their approach, 90, 95% here, somewhere between 2 and 3 rounds, and maybe plateauing somewhere after that. So this paper is called Agentverse, facilitating multi-agent collaborations and exploring emergent behaviors in agents. And so, like Tsinghua University, there's WeChat, I'm aware of that one. Tencent is the big game making company, amongst other things. Now,
you're not wrong, but this goes along with one of the things that I talk about in relation to all the open source models that are being produced and things like that, is that the UI tends to suffer. And like, people will engage with technology as long as it doesn't make them feel stupid and doesn't make them feel afraid, right? So you have to design your UI to be intuitive and like friendly. And if you download the ChatGPT app, this is my, here I am simping for OpenAI again. But if you download the ChatGPT app, at least for Android, I don't know what the Apple one looks like, but you push the button, it's got a friendly blinking light, and well, you like philosophy, so and just like it says ChatGPT and the blinking light, and then it immediately shows you exactly what you should be doing with it, right? You can push the microphone and you can talk to it, and ChatGPT is very friendly when it responds to people. So, like, that is an example of a very good UI for regular usage. Right? What it is now is that people, generally speaking, don't understand why they should use the AI because they don't understand why it would enhance their experience. But like again, I go to the store, I'm walking through the store buying my normal groceries, I see something that's on sale so I can save money, and I ask ChatGPT to generate a recipe, so I'm devoting zero mental thought to that. Like a little bit because, just analyzing it to make sure that I have whatever ingredients and things like that. But I'm not thinking, I'm not digging through Google trying to find a particular recipe that looks good or anything else. I'm going to go with whatever ChatGPT says, right? I could theoretically do the same by just clicking on the first link that pops up, but then it's scrolling down through their story about how their grandmother used to make this recipe back in 1923 and it's always been in their family and yada yada yada. Like, just give me the recipe and I'm good to go, and then I run with it. And so far, ChatGPT has knocked everything that I made with it out of the park, and I advocate its use at the very least in that format to create a mode of like regular interaction with the AI to take on that task, to save you time, to increase results, all the things that it should be doing, but on a very personal level, right? There are next steps that require access to the internet and things like that. Yeah, exactly. Just bust out your phone and hit them off with the ChatGPT app and like that, right? Like, especially if you got an older Nana and, you hit her, like, you got your Italian Nana and it's like, ChatGPT, give me a lasagna recipe, and you bust that out. Now it's a challenge, and, like, have fun with it, right?
There's been more and more research on this particular subject coming out of China. And so I kind of just wanted to address that. I did a quick little survey before I posted this video. So far it has 41 votes. So take this with a grain of salt, because I probably did not give enough time to really generate enough responses. But AI research is popping up out of China, and they're all talking about AI and agents and LLMs and how that sort of potentially is the way towards AGI. And of course, with US and China kind of butting heads recently over Taiwan, which is the world's basically, that's the place where we make microchips. Like something like 96% of the world's supply of microchips, specifically the advanced microchips used for AI training, etc., is produced on that little island that's, a short boat ride from mainland China. And recently with the CHIPS Act that was passed by the US government, that seems to be putting a little bit more pressure on China and trying to kind of like, it's trying to prevent the export of chips to certain nations and trying to keep more of them in the US. And, that seems like it could potentially cause some issues, some tensions, etc. So my question was, how do people in general kind of view this sort of research and stuff that's coming out of China? And I'm not trying to suggest anything. I'm just genuinely curious how people perceive it. And by the way, please comment below if you have any ideas or any insights into it. Is there any sources that can kind of like help us? Because the AI community is global. We cover research from people of all backgrounds and all origins, etc. But we do have to kind of keep in mind that at the end of the day, a lot of these tech companies, they kind of have their own goals and they're trying to compete and achieve them. These nations, including the US, including China, they do have their own goals and they're trying to compete with other nations to achieve them. You hear these stories about.
Okay. So I like the guy. I like his voice. I like his not too technical language. I'm liking what's going on. The fact that his bed doesn't have pillows on it is kind of freaking me out.
The various hacks that are going on between the large tech companies and different countries, etc. So I was just curious to know how people perceived it. So the first option I gave is kind of like, all this research is 100% legit. The scientific community is always above politics. It's always above suspicion. It's always perfect. And this is obviously the best case scenario. This is what I really wish it would be 100% of the time, that no science paper, no science research is ever corrupted in any way. But even here in the States, we've seen some issues with perhaps some of the data being a little bit corrupted, faked, etc. So you always have to kind of like keep an eye out and be a little bit cautious with it. So maybe.
And there's an intrinsic issue with research is because of how research is funded in this country, which is going to skew your results. There's no way around it. If you have a limited amount of funding that you put out there to what research you think is the most promising, there are a ton of human biases that come into play and desires and things like that. So this might not be the best way to go, but it could be your favorite. And because it's your favorite, it's going to get the funding rather than what might turn out to be the most advantageous. Yeah.
Saying that everything is always 100% legit, maybe that's too optimistic. But I'm glad that a lot of people kind of said this, some cautions. Like, you got to trust the research, but you got to be careful about, maybe sharing the data, maybe putting your API keys in places where maybe you're not 100% sure where that information is going, etc. And then, of course, and 17% of people said, view everything as potential propagandas, potential hacking attempts. There are some people that expect potentially tensions to increase between US and China. So certainly it's going to be interesting.
I mean, you should view everything as propaganda. You should absolutely view my channel as propaganda. You should view every channel you see on Twitch as like some kind of marketing propaganda, something of that nature. This doesn't mean you can't consume it, right? It just has to do with that you are aware that anyone who takes the time to express an idea to you is selling you something, and they're selling you that idea. This is the fundamental of media literacy. This is the fundamental of healthy skepticism. This is a fundamental of critical thinking, right? Like, just understand that. Like, if your child wants to go to a particular place, it's because there's something in that particular place that child enjoys, and your child is selling you on that idea, right? Like, it doesn't matter who they are. We all do this. We all engage in propaganda. We all engage in marketing. We all do this. Whenever we interact with other people, we do this. This is fine. The thing in and of itself is not the problem, right? It's not being aware of it. It fades into the background, and then you don't realize you're being sold, and the next thing you do, you bought Tide now with flavor crystals or some crap. Suki NW, welcome in. Fundamentally, everyone is manufacturing consent in some fashion. Exactly, you get it. Until people can start having accountability attached to you. I mean, that is part of it. Like, I get on here, I do my bit. The people who come back day after day find my takes either entertaining or credible, or a combination of the both. That should be what you do, right? Like, you should engage with whatever you're being told in that fashion. Blockchain has value as a data storage system, and like that, just not as a currency, because I don't understand how it's different from a commodity-backed currency prone to wild fluctuations. Again, there are some things that I have established over time, but you're new here, and that's cool. So yeah, you're always being sold. It's always propaganda. You're always being marketed to. Just be aware of that and take everything you hear in that framework, and you'll be fine.
Interesting to see how and if that will influence the way that people are, what kind of research people are posting and not posting. A lot of people saw Oppenheimer recently. And one of the interesting things about that is a lot of the research publications that were around nuclear physics and stuff like that, US and the universities here, in the years and months leading up to the development of the bomb, a lot of the publications have stopped. So when we look back at that time, all the nations kind of published research out there for the scientific community to view. But as we got closer to the development of the bomb, that research out of the US institutions kind of disappeared and stopped. So again, I wanted to throw that out there, not because I want to make any point or to even push the debate one way or another. It's just kind of giving some context to where we are and just to potentially kind of be aware of what may or may not be happening. But with that said, there's been a lot of really excellent papers coming out that are talking about AI agents, autonomous agents driven by LLMs, kind of like orchestrated by LLMs, and some of the pretty amazing things that they were able to accomplish. And this is one of them called Agentverse. So let's dive in. So here they mentioned this idea that with multiple agents, you can have a greater than the sum of its part system. So if you have multiple agents working together, their abilities might be greater than just one agent working on their own. And they mentioned several proof of concept autonomous agents. We have AutoGPT, Baby AGI, Agent GPT, etc., with more human analogous cognitive mechanisms. Now, this is a huge debate right now about what are the actual sort of capabilities of these LLM models, these AI models. And so a lot of people, I think, are just arguing semantics, right? So if you're saying, oh, can they reason? Can they think? Can they understand? Right? That really depends on how you're defining those words. If we're not defining them.
And this is like a huge thing that comes up every time we talk about AI, because there are people who are never going to view AI as AI because it can't play the banjo. This is the meme, right? It's not real AGI because it can't play the banjo, right? But this, going all the way back to, was it Mark Twain, or at least attributed to Mark Twain, is, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it's terrible at that. You know what I mean? There are some things that the AI may never be able to do, at least theoretically. But then I can totally see a world in which the AI uses a robot agent in order to play the banjo. So
in the same way, then it's kind of hard to agree on whether or not these things are able to do it. So as one commenter actually suggested on one of the videos, using the word cognition or cognitive tasks is probably a great way, because it describes what they're doing without sort of the stigma or the baggage of what a word like think or understand.
I love it. Okay. I'm a fan. Like, his vibe is very similar to my vibe, right? Like, the baggage of a particular word, then words have meanings, everything else, but like there is baggage associated with certain terms, especially when we talk about is and isms and things like that. And like, how can we discuss this matter without bringing in the baggage that might be associated with the listener? And one of those ways is clearly defined terms, and the other is choosing different language
and what those words might carry. And so here what they're doing is they're throwing multiple of these agents into a task. So for example, for a home construction, for example, they might have an architect, a designer, and an engineer. Or in this case, they have a logger, a worker, and an engineer. Kind of they put them together and they talk and they try to figure out how to best go about accomplishing that task. Now, one of the coolest applications that I think they have is where they throw a bunch of these agents into a Minecraft universe to see how well they perform. And what's interesting here is they've used multiple Voyager agents. So Voyager, we've covered it earlier in this video. We have a whole video about it. I'll link it down below if you want to see it. But Voyager is one of the, to me, most fascinating AI experiments because it really showcases what a large language model can do when it's sort of piloting an agent in the Minecraft universe. If you haven't watched that, I suggest you do, because I think a lot of where this AI research is going will make a lot of sense once you see what
this is the anti-fucking pronouns guy, though.
At the very end of this
paper,
he is
very
break
calm.
Down exactly how those sort of interactions went. So let's take a look. So as you can see here, so let's see, I believe there's 3 agents, and so they're tasked with crafting a bookshelf, which is a sort of a multi-step process that requires different materials and different sort of actions to collect those materials, and then you have to create several different objects and then kind of fuse together to create a bookshelf. And so the first round starts with these agents beginning kind of to think about how to go and how to approach this problem, right? So Alice says, "Hello, Bob and Charlie. We have to craft a bookshelf. To do that, we need 6 wooden planks and 3 books. To make 3 books, we need 3 leathers and 9 papers. To make 9 papers, we need 9 sugar canes. I suggest we split tasks like this. One of us will gather 6 wooden planks, one will gather 3 leathers, and one will gather 9 sugar canes. What do you guys think?" So notice here that I think they're using chain of thought. So basically they're thinking through the problem, breaking down into manageable steps, right? So once they break it down into manageable steps, they think about, okay, so how do we go about doing those steps? And then they decide who does what, or at least here's the task that we need to sort of divvy up between us three. And so Bob goes, Alice, your plan sounds good. I can gather the 6 wooden planks. Charlie, are you okay with gathering the 3 leathers? Charlie goes, sure, Bob, I can gather the 3 leathers.
And if it's not clear, this is 3 iterations of Voyager AI. These are not people doing people things. These are computer programs, artificial intelligence, engaging in a virtual real world and having discussions on how to problem solve. Like that, if you're not impressed by that, I don't know what to tell you.
So Alice, that leaves you with the task of gathering 9 sugarcane. Are you fine with this assignment? And Alice says, yes, Charlie, I'm fine with gathering 9 sugarcanes. So
I want an AI butt spot. I would like to see AI butt spot, like where it has more context, more cues, more cognitive thinking around what it's doing rather than seemingly randomly choose what sentences it wishes to associate with. I don't know that the developer has any intention to do that, but I would love to see it.
So our plan for this round is Bob will gather 6 wooden planks, Charlie will gather 3 leathers, and I will gather 9 sugarcanes. Let's get this done. Now, the important thing to keep in mind here, and this is really what I think we should all be thinking about, is that these are examples that are set in this sort of fantasy little video game, don't really have a relation to real life, you can say, right? But here's the thing. All across the world, there's businesses and corporations and corporate environments where situations like this happen every single day. Various meetings where people gather and they decide how to continue doing some task or another. But instead of how to make a bookshelf or how to gather, wooden planks, it's, what do we need to start this marketing campaign? Or what do we need to design this product? Or here's a problem that we're facing with one of our customers. How do we solve it? So
this stream fully endorses the AI CEO and the AI executive.
When you're reading all of this, understand that the structure here can be just as easily applied to corporate environments and hospitals and schools and various businesses, large and small, in fairly the same way. If they're able to figure out how to make a bookshelf in a game, we're not that far from them being able to figure out a marketing plan or how to design it.
And also, if this isn't sufficient evidence, Devil, if this isn't sufficient evidence that all jobs will be automated. All jobs will be automated. All jobs will be automated. And automated in short order. Right? I don't care what you do. It's going to happen soonest with knowledge-based, I think, because the robots are still not quite there, but the robots get better every day. All jobs will be automated.
And a certain product and then import it and then sell it on the store shelves. There isn't that huge of a leap between the two, especially since we know that much larger models than the ones we currently have are just around the corner. Here we're in the last quarter of 2023, and we're expecting to hear something about GPT-5, perhaps not that far away from now. Google Gemini is rolling out. There's a number of other LLMs rumored to be just around the corner. The open source is catching up to GPT-4. It's not quite there yet, but we potentially could see something as good as GPT-4, at least in some aspects, potentially not too long from now. So if you've ever sat through a corporate meeting where, let's say, 3 or 4 people sit down and try to figure out how to solve a problem, ask yourself, how far away are we from potentially bad, being replaced by just several LLM agents discussing and coming up with ideas and brainstorming, etc. All right, so here it looks like Bob was able to gather the wood that he needed, but Alice and Charlie, they failed at their...
It's going to be so much more efficient to run a decision tree than get an entire org to agree on some direction of change. It will be insane how quick we are out on the streets. 100%. Like, that, just, if you work a job where there are meetings, right? And the meme, this meeting could have been handled with an email, right? That is what we're talking about. And your meeting is going to take 45 minutes to an hour. There's going to be a variety of chit chat and this, that, and the other. You know, all that kind of crap. The LLMs, the agents, the AIs don't need to do any of that. And that hour-long meeting will be compressed into seconds or fractions of a second. It will run a process tree just like this in seconds and then shunt that decision to the proper department where humans and then AIs will create the product. And it only has to happen once. Right? It only has to be successful once. If my CEO / management team / executives are replaced with a series of autonomous agents, and therefore my company is faster, more efficient, more profitable, guess what happens? Either they adapt to what I do, or they go out of business. And again, like, for those who are new here and everything else, I only expect entities to act in their framework. I don't expect Comrade Biden to show up. I expect Joe Biden to Joe Biden. I expect Jeff Bezos to Jeff Bezos. I expect them to behave as their conditions dictate. And these are the results I come up with. And I'm open to, I'm not against challenge. I am open to it. I'm totally, like, if anybody thinks I'm out of pocket, if anybody thinks like I'm wrong, if anybody thinks I'm missing something, Top G. Like that's on y'all. Like, I'm willing to incorporate. How fast was it, y'all? We got our own. Does it come up? Is my shit janky? No, it works. Okay, we got our own Peepo emote. We found a robot named Peepo, and through community effort, we have our own Peepo emote. That is Peepo. Anything y'all want to see, I'm more than happy to provide it to you if I can. If you put in the legwork, it makes it so much easier, right? So much more likely. Old Lobster created that. It was incorporated that same day. That is how I roll. This is not my stream. It is, but it's not. It is our stream. This is not my community. This is our community. I am a conduit unto the people. All right. So, if you're interested in watching the rest of this video, it's going to be in the Discord. I have to wrap this is the final stream of this week. I will be back on Monday. What up, Maddie? I will be back on Monday. So no stream Friday, no movie night Friday. Next week, we will be back with movie night. We're going to do, Blade Runner. Right? So next Friday is Blade Runner. Make sure you're in the Discord. Make sure you go to the movie night channel. Make sure you click the button to get notified if you want to participate in the movie night. We're going to be talking Cyberpunk next week. More futuristic stuff, that kind of thing. Like that. Yeah. So I'm going away for the weekend. You might see me in chats. You might not. It depends on how all the other things I want to go. It's also the wife's birthday weekend. Yada, 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 yada. I appreciate you all. What do we got? 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 Hey, he's live. We talked about him earlier. Is this gonna work? If you don't know, I am not logged in. Yeah. Oh, give me a second. I got it. I gotta say hi to the homie. Which means I gotta log into Twitch because everything logged out. Because Twitch is janky as fuck. And because I am smart, always security first, people. If you can use an authenticator app, use two-factor authentication, whatever it's called. You know what I'm talking about. Authentication. Do the thing. What do you mean? Oh, because I can't read. I'm looking at the wrong thing, and now I gotta wait a second. There we go. I cannot log into Twitter with my Twitch number. Boom. Okay, we're gonna raid a rune. Homie, we used to do streams together, talking about India and South Asian politics. Man was recently up on Hassan's stream. A huge fan of Arun, and like absolutely appreciate everything he's done for me and his progress and all that other good stuff. Again, I will see you all next week. In the meantime, drink your water, eat some food, take your meds if you forgot. Chuggy loves you, and so do I. Be good, and if you can't be good, be great.